Hi, this is Brad Weber with Local Umbrella Media. Welcome to Local Umbrella Live. We have a very special guest today here in our Coronado, California studios from all the way in Indianapolis, Indiana area. We have Mr. Tom Britt, who's the CEO of Towne Post Network. And Tom will tell you a little bit more in detail, but Tom has a group of magazines and has done some things like Local Umbrella does. And we've recently joined forces to expand the Towne Post network along with Local Umbrella out here in San Diego and other parts of California. So long story short, welcome, Tom. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me. Thanks and welcome from the Midwest, 3-hour time difference.
We all love the Midwest, so I miss it out there. But then you've got some good weather coming up for a few months. So winter's over and flowers are blooming and anyway, things are good out there.
We're just waiting for the cicadas to show up. They're supposed to be here anytime now. So that once that plague is over, we'll have a great summer.
Is that one of every 10 years or every
17? Every 17 years. So
and it's this year?
It's this year. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And what time of year is that?
Well, they usually start coming out here within the next week or two, and they live for 2 weeks and then they're gone. So it's kind of like they come out, they party, they go crazy for a couple of weeks. It's louder than heck here for a couple of weeks, and then they'll just go away and they're gone for 17 years.
Wow. Well, nature is a cool thing, and that's just one more example. Huh? Anyway, I just want to introduce you to our listeners out here because we've run an article in the papers and we got quite a bit of feedback from it, asking questions and wondering what the heck we're doing. And so, but you're the one that can explain it a lot better than me. But tell us a little bit about your background, how you got to where you are today, how you've integrated, the digital and the directories and the other things you're going to tell us about. Anyway, tell us about the whole package.
Well, let me start at the beginning. So I started out over 30 years ago working in typesetting, which is now extinct, but it was a precursor to desktop publishing. And my first job out of college back in '87 was working for a typesetting company doing magazines. And as desktop publishing kind of came around, I jumped into the Mac universe early and started in desktop publishing and kind of helped lead the charge moving away from traditional typesetting into desktop publishing, and started my own publishing company in '93, and it was called Progressive Publishing. And around '95 or so was when this thing called the internet came around, and I owned a publishing company, and I was reading articles saying that publishing and magazines and newspapers would eventually go away because everything would go online. And I've got a publishing company, so I'm thinking to myself, I better figure out how to wrestle this beast or run really fast. So we ran at it. We started building websites in '95, '96. And in '98, we actually launched a .com startup called channelseek.com. And it was the TV guide of the internet. So anything being streamed online, which back in '98 was, Real Player and Microsoft Windows Media Player. And we would database all that. And then we found that there was a niche in licensing that content to broadband providers like Comcast and Sprint and AOL Time Warner, because an ISP channel, obviously on the West Coast, was a client. So they were trying to figure out how to get people to adopt broadband, and what a better way to do that than show them something that's really hard to watch on a dial-up connection. That, video is really tough to watch. And so I had two companies. I had a publishing company doing magazines. Across the hall, I had a .com company doing video, streaming video, and working with Comcast and Sprint on these low-end audio through their broadband portals. And so in 2000, I sold both those companies to a competitor. It's right when the .com bubble started shrinking. I started consulting, and a lot of my clients at the time were people who were trying to figure out how to do these local portals, these broadband portals. Mm-hmm. And I had this background in print. I had this internet background. I knew all the people in the international market doing streaming video, and Apple and all those guys were all people that I knew really well. But nobody was listening to what I was telling them to do. So I ended up deciding just to start something in my backyard called the Geist Community Newsletter, and at Geist.com. That was in 2003. I launched a website for my local community. It was my belief, and it still is that content will get more and more local. And the more you can democratize journalism and content and video, the more germane and more real it is, and more that people want to watch it. So I've been watching. In 2003-04, YouTube wasn't even really around yet. Social media was MySpace. And as we've kind of grown over the years, we've just endorsed and embraced all these different social and digital medias to try to really create a local presence, a local media company in these small communities that can give people kind of that news within 3 miles of their front door. And that's how Towne Post was really started. So I started with one magazine. It really went well. I had a magazine and a website. I expanded into another neighboring town. Found out pretty quick I can't do everything. As I'm sure you found, it's hard for you to be Brad Weber in 5 different cities.
Right.
So I came up with this idea of kind of licensing what I was doing and get other people who could be Tom Britts in their towns. And so we started growing by licensing our model and letting people use my platform. Now, my publishing background, we did a lot of creative and design and magazine stuff. I knew the back ends of how to workflow editorial and stories and design and working with printers. I knew all that. And we also had the billing systems down. And so if I could take somebody that maybe didn't know and understand publishing, but really knew their community, was really interested in giving back and want to do something positive, they could go out and sell ads in their magazine and kind of manage their editorial, but I could take care of the rest of it. Right. And really over the next 10 years or so, that's what I did, is spend all of my time really trying to perfect the back end systems of that and building out a website that would support this whole mission. And in 2016, I decided to convert our licenses into franchise. The franchise model is much better. It's just a little more it's a little more marketable when somebody's ready to exit the system. A license is only good as the handshake of the person who licensed it to you, but a franchise has a little more traction. It's got ongoing training. It's a little more regulated. So we converted to a franchise, and right now we have 18 different magazines in Indiana and Kentucky. We back office all the design, production, all the work of getting the magazines produced and billed and vendors paid and all that distribution. We handle all of that. Right. And then what our franchisees do is they become, the Brad Webers of their communities. They work from home. They plug into our cloud-based system, and we kind of take care of the rest of it. Yeah. So with your website stuff out in San Diego and kind of what we're looking to do in Southern California, something that's happened in the last really year is more of an emphasis on our side into digital. If you remember, in 2003, I started the website. In 2004, I started my magazine. So I started with digital first. Well, when you're in the magazine business, traditionally, you're out to sell an ad, and the bigger the ad and the longer the contract, the better. Well, what we want to do is really redefine how that works and look at not just the magazine ad, but look at the holistic marketing program of our platform in a given month. One of the phrases I say a lot is that we have to be relevant all 30 days of the month, not just the day we come out in the mailbox. And so what we have a team, we have a website, and we have a strategic plan to incorporate digital media in these local markets and create a digital local search engine that benefits small businesses, but also gives us the ability to do social and online promotion throughout the month to promote local businesses that need the support. And so that's why we're excited to partner with you out there. You do newspapers and you're going to be doing some magazines, but really being able to provide digital support. Think of it as like Yelp, but with a magazine.
Yep, exactly.
It's a combination of print and digital working together. And what we're seeing so far in just a limited trial of our magazines, the 18 we have right now, our sales are already up this year. Now, I'm taking COVID out. I'm saying year over 19 numbers. We're already up 28% year over year from 2019 by incorporating more of this digital strategy.
Yeah, well, that's exciting. I've talked to a few of your franchisees, and they're excited about it. They're doing well. They're selling ads, but like you said, it's a synergy. It's a recipe, and print is still, and I've heard it all these years too. Print is dead. Print is going away. And I always say print is dead in the news business, but it's not in the newsletter business. I mean, we are
Right.
a community newsletter type of publication, and print does, it's kind of the main ingredient in the recipe,
It
but
is.
the total recipe to make it just right takes all these elements. And
Right.
that's why,
It's definitely the steak, but the sizzle on the steak is the digital and the social.
yeah,
And one of the things that, we talk about a lot is just everybody says print's dead, but, last year, I don't know if you got this, but I got a catalog around the holidays from Amazon.
absolutely. I did too.
So the world's
I let people use
largest,
it all the time.
the world's
Yeah,
largest online retailer who could squash anybody, and they already have anybody they want. They can squash you if they want to squash you, and they already have, right? But
right.
they put out a print catalog and direct mail it to Amazon Prime customers. Why do you think they did that? Do
It
you think they
worked.
just did that because they had a print deal, or they bought a printer, or they got a printer in some stock deal? No, they know that if print goes out with their digital, that they get a lift in everything. And
Right.
so, they're not stupid. You look around at some of the catalogs you get today, and look at some of the things that show up in your mailboxes. There's less mail, but the things that are coming to you are much more strategic, and they're much more intentional than they ever were before. And I think the data, the AI behind a lot of these mailing lists that we see now are getting more and more intelligent.
Yep.
And I think it just opens doors for guys like you and I who are in the local markets, who already have the pulse of the local people, and you're already getting past the recycling bin, because nobody's going to throw away a magazine that has their talent at the top. So if you can get in the house and get part of that quality time with people, the other thing with magazines, and it's not just magazines, any kind of print media, it's impossible to multitask while you're reading a magazine.
Yep.
If I'm watching television, you bet my phone's up. I probably got my laptop up. If I'm listening to the radio, I'm driving or I'm doing something else. It's always background noise and background information. Things are always happening. I don't remember the ads. But if I'm reading a magazine, I can't text and read a magazine. I can't
Right.
watch television and read a magazine. Your
Yeah,
mind
there's
can do.
lots of studies out there that show how much more you retain the data that you read in a printed publication and whatnot. And it's not just, I mean, these are very serious studies. People have really looked into this long and hard, because
Yep.
these companies aren't stupid. Like you said, they know what they're doing, and they wouldn't be in print if they didn't think it worked, and people
Right.
actually read it. And you have to reach people where they are, and you have to reach them multiple ways. And the more ways you reach them, the more they're going to remember each one of those ways. They're going to
Yep.
remember you. So it's all thing. As I'm a printer too. I print magazines all over the country and have for 35 years. And back when the internet started, everyone stopped doing catalogs. I mean, it was catastrophe. Everyone just stopped and they went online. And of course, what happened later? It didn't work. They just kind of went away. And now they do smaller versions of catalogs to drive people online.
Yep.
And I mean, my wife, she gets a couple catalogs. She's into horses and things like that. So they're sending her catalogs every day, and she buys. She loves that stuff. She takes it, and she's a complete social media user. She's online all the time, but those things are what she really buys from, or she goes online and buys from those catalogs. So anyway, I think it's proven.
Right.
I'm excited because, and have been even before I met you, because I know how much of an impact it makes, how unique it is, how empty the mailboxes are right now. And, it's very expensive to do direct mail. That's why a lot of people don't do it, but we both have a system to get that done for a reasonable price and add the whole package and make it unique and something an advertiser can reach people in a much more complete way than website and social media and whatnot.
Yeah, and I think too with small businesses, I look at the analytics on just a small business. Was it 90 or 92% of their business comes from within 3 miles of their front door, and so they're looking for solutions to help them market and reach customers within that 3 mile radius. Now, up until now, they've had to a la carte and try to put together packages that work for them. They might buy a print ad from you or myself in my markets, or they might do a postcard mailer. They might go on Facebook and do some boost there. They might do some pay-per-click. And a 3 mile radius is kind of hard to justify the cost, but they probably played around with it and they're trying different things. What we're trying to do is put all that under one umbrella and under one platform and then manage that for them at the cost of like, kind of like co-oping the cost it would take to hire an agency to do the same thing. So
Right.
instead of you own a barber shop, well, what if a barber shop and the dry cleaners and the restaurant and all the different businesses in that area co-opt this idea,
Right.
and could split the cost of that and pay their fraction of that cost, even though they're non-competitive, but driving traffic to themselves because they know if they're going to the dry cleaners, they might stop by and eat pizza, and they might stop by my insurance agency and get a quote on their new auto insurance or whatever. If you can do that, that's where we're headed. And then that's kind of the future of what we're doing. And that's why I think it's exciting in Southern California to bring this whole notion of a local search directory with a magazine to fruition, because that really gives you the touch points and it gives you all the levers to press and pull. And I will mention too, the nice thing about what we do, and I know you've heard this song, but your listeners maybe haven't heard it, is we're 100% transparent on all of our analytics and our traffic and everything. So when we work with any business, if you come and post your business listing to townpost.com, it shows up in Southern California. It's free. But as the traffic's coming to that page, when you log into the site and you click on your dashboard, you can see how many people have seen your page, how many people have clicked on your links, how many people have called you, how many emails have come through the site. So all that stuff is transparent. If you want to see the analytics of the website, you just go up to contact us. There's a drop down that says analytics, and we actually show our web traffic to anybody who wants to come in and see it. That's very unheard of in our business. And not only show you web traffic, we'll show you how many magazines we sent out per market, what our Facebook reach was last month, what our Instagram reach was last month. And we combine all those numbers to come up with what we call the true reach of a magazine, which up until now has been a hidden thing. Nobody talks about their true distribution because it's embarrassing. And plus they don't know what it is.
Right.
We put it out front and center and say, here's the reach we had in our magazine in April of 2021. And it has all the numbers spelled out and it combines them into one number. So I think that's something that will be unique in your markets, Brad. I think it'll be something that businesses will appreciate. We don't run from our numbers. We stick them right out in front of you. And if we don't like the numbers, we'll do whatever it takes to make the numbers go the other direction. That's just kind of how we operate. And we don't charge extra for that. We just take it personal. We want to be a positive force in our communities. We want to help small businesses, and that's not always paid, and that's fine. We're all in this together, as they always say. In COVID, it kind of took maybe a negative connotation, but in business, we've always been in it together, trying to lift. All high tides rise all boats. So we're all trying to raise the level of business in all these small businesses.
Yeah, and it's so tough to be a small business. I mean, there's so many jobs. I mean, we're small business people too, and I know trying to buy stuff myself, it's like, how do you make a decision when something's coming out of the blue that I have no knowledge of, and someone's trying to explain it to me, and the guy calls the next day and it's the same thing. And everyone, as you know, is doing digital. Everybody's a digital media company out there. So how many times I walked into businesses and they say, well, we spent the money on this and we spent the money on this, we spent the money on this, and they have no idea if it's working. And unfortunately, it's probably not, because no one's giving them the true reach and the true numbers, and they're just throwing numbers that don't really mean anything out there, likes and things like that don't mean all that much. So that's one thing that attracted. I told you, I've watched you for a while, and some of the things you're doing, including going online and buying the ads online and making it simple for people, which takes some of the middlemen out to make it more expensive and more valuable. And the true reach part of it was exactly, I know from being a small business person. You mentioned umbrella before. We want to be umbrella, and that's, that name kind of caught my ear a bit there. But
imagine that, huh?
Exactly, because that's why we chose that name. We want to be an umbrella, and it was we've got you covered, whether it's print or direct mail, or we'll do a street team, or we'll do signs, we'll do whatever, but that includes digital and email marketing, whatever it takes. And we haven't really completed that whole cycle, but that's always been the goal. So this is a big step forward in completing that, because you've laid the groundwork out there. So,
Yeah, and I'll say this too about people who are buying digital. And you mentioned it. A lot of people say, "Well, we're doing digital." Um, if you really start asking questions, and I've done this before with clients, I don't try to embarrass them, but I say, "Well,
mhm,
exactly what are you buying?"
right.
And it's really funny the answers you get back, because, and I would say the majority of people, when you say digital, they think that they're buying, well, they have a website, so that's a digital website, or they did a Facebook boost and that's a digital. And those things all are digital.
Right.
But I doubt that they have a strategy around it. We had a client call yesterday and they said, um, we're going to do we've been doing Facebook boost, and we're just not getting the response we used to. But if I did this with you, why would it be any different than what I'm doing on my own? Because I could do my own Facebook boost. And I said, yeah, you can do your own Facebook boost. You can do your own Facebook boost to the people who like your page, and to your own people and to your own audience. You've probably boosted so much that they've already seen this message 50 times already in the last 50
Right.
weeks. And the fish just quit biting after they've seen it so many times. I
Right.
said, what we do is we put on our channel. Our page has a very different audience. They expect different things. And when we put something out there, it's a third party posting and promoting you versus you promoting yourself.
Right.
Which one's going to be more likely to get clicked on? Which one's going to be more likely to get the engagement? And our demographics and the audience that we have, as we're tweaking these audiences, because we create audiences around each channel that we promote.
Mhm,
If you're a dentist, it's a different audience than a real estate agent. And so as we're tweaking these audiences, we gather intelligence and we're getting better at defining the audience that gets a better reception. And so my point to your clients out there that might be listening to this is, give somebody else a chance to boost it or do the advertising through their channels.
mhm,
And as long as you have the accountability and the metrics in place to gauge the response, and you can get true and accurate numbers that are irrefutable, then at least you have a measuring stick and you can see if it's working or not.
right.
One of the things that we're really high on is engagements. Engagements means that somebody did something, right? They liked it, they commented, they shared it, they clicked through to something. That's an engagement. That's different than just somebody seeing something, an impression. An impression, if I fly over San Diego and wrote the words local umbrella in the sky and the whole city looked up and
Right.
saw it, that's an impression, right? That I
Right.
can't react to that. I can't engage with it, but I saw it.
Right.
But if I could somehow write that on the sky and then have the phone number up there and people started calling you from the phone number, that's an engagement, because now I can
Right.
track how valuable that impression was in the sky. The same thing with Facebook and Instagram. It's not just about impressions. Impressions is the old eyeballs, the old hits, back in the old days. That's
Mhm,
the old term for just getting in front of people. But
right.
what you really need to track is who's getting through the funnel to engage with your business. And that's our specialty. That's what we try to do. That's what our website's designed to do. And that's what we like to do, give back to our clients, is that engagement profile. At the end of every boost we do, we send them back a report, and it has all the engagements. Yeah, we'll talk about the impressions. We'll see how many people saw it in the sky, but we're
Mhm,
going to also get down to the number of people actually did something. We had a client just, this was probably about a year ago, but she's a jewelry designer, local jewelry designer. Not many people knew her outside of our bubble, but
mhm,
we did a story about her in the magazine. We put the story on our website. We created a call to action link that we could track that would send people to her website to shop for her jewelry. And in the first 3 days, she had 67 people go to the website, click, and go to her store to shop. Now, how many people those people bought anything? But if I can bring 67 people into a digital online store in 3 days,
yeah.
that's pretty powerful.
Yep.
And it's powerful. What's more powerful is the fact that I knew that they went in there.
Right.
Not many magazines can tell you that. And I think that's where we're going to be different. And I think that's what, as we look forward, we're going to stay up on all this stuff. But you can bet your butt that as things come out, as new technologies emerge, as AI gets more advanced,
Mhm,
we're going to be integrating all this stuff into our franchises so that our magazines can stay bleeding edge on our technology, not just be another magazine that people look at and throw in the trash.
Right. Well, the short time I've known you, you're always working on the next, the next new thing, and things
Hmm.
change so fast. I always say you wake up in the morning and forget what you learned yesterday because whether it's Facebook or Google changing their analytics or whatnot, and a
Yep.
small business can't keep up with all this stuff. So that
Yeah.
a lot of them, myself included, are doing things they did a year ago, and it just doesn't work anymore. So you
Right.
need kind of a team that's invested in keeping up to date day by day, week by week, month by month, and changing with the times, and always having that solid base of print. I mean, print is
Yeah.
it's still the middle of everything. I'm a true believer in that. And
Hmm.
but again, it's how you reach people. It's how much engagement you get, and the whole package is where the real sweet spot is, and just not that many people doing. Very, very few people doing that type of thing. So
Right. Right. And
it's working. Obviously, you guys are growing. I mean, I've seen
yeah.
your numbers. I've talked to your franchisees and a
Yep.
couple of your advertisers too, and everyone gets it. What you're doing, you come through with what you say. They're happy. Some focus more on the print part of it, which is great, and some focus more on the digital part of it. But it's
Yep.
all there. And back to small businesses, sometimes they just check off advertising or marketing or digital. It's like a box they check off and say, okay, I got that done. I got
Yeah.
that. It makes them feel good, comfortable. People tell them
Right.
you need to get the word out. So they check that box and think it's working, but there's a whole lot more to that.
Yeah.
There's a
And,
whole lot of people selling them a bill of goods that
yeah.
doesn't do anything for them. And
Yeah.
we're trying to get in the middle of that.
Yeah. And I think, the more you can look for partners like us that are holistic in their approach,
Hmm.
and we work well in the sandbox. They already have an online campaign going. Then we take the time to learn what they're doing and what's working for them. They have landing pages set up. Well, let me see those. What's been the response? Because a lot of times what's happening in that offline or online world can impact what we're doing in our print world. We want
Hmm.
to make sure that we're kind of mirroring what's working and test that as well. So again, I just urge small businesses to think more holistically in their marketing efforts, and take it from a guy who's been in publishing and a .com and done lead gen and SEO. I didn't go over that, but in 2004 to '09, I was a lead gen consultant. That's what it was, pay per click and SEO for large companies, while I was getting my magazine stuff off the ground. So, when I look at advertising, I don't see branding. I mean, branding's important. In a lot of guys, that means everything to them. But to
Hmm.
me, it's all about lead gen. If I can't make your phone ring, I can't sell
Right.
products. If I can't help you get that next home listing or that next air conditioner unit sold, if you can't do that and I can't track it for you, then you are just branding. And that may
Right.
work out. It worked out for centuries, right?
Yep.
But it doesn't work out anymore. You really need to be a little more strategic and tactical about how you spend your money and knowing what your ROI is on those spends. And that's where we come into play, is we help you define that. We track it for ourselves. And even if you don't know what you're doing everywhere else, at least you'll know what we're doing for you.
Got it.
And we can justify our cost to you.
Got it. Well, we're excited to join up with you and get this thing launched out here. We've been laying the groundwork for a couple of months now, and
Yeah.
we're about ready to get them kicked off. We're gonna launch a lot of magazines this fall,
Hmm.
a couple before then. So we're excited. Love working with you and learning
Yep. Same
about
here.
what you're doing. And you got a great group out there, and I really appreciate you taking time to fill our listeners in with the overview. And hopefully
Absolutely.
3 months or 6 months from now, we'll do this again and talk about the results we're having out here, Tom.
Absolutely. You guys want to contact us as Towne Post, TOWNEPOST.com.
Don't forget
And
the
yeah, don't forget my email is Tom at Towne Post if you guys want to email me.
TOWNEPOST.com, Town
Yep.
Post Network. All right, Tom, Britt, thank you so
Yep.
much. I know it's late out there in Indianapolis. Thanks for staying
Yeah.
late for us. And have a good evening, and we'll stay in touch.
Thanks.
This is
Thanks.
Brad Weber signing off with Local Umbrella Live. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.